This is International Open University UK Brothers Student Committee presenting the webinar on Islamic Studies and Islamized Studies. Our speaker today is the esteemed Sheikh Dr. Bilal Phillips, who is the founder and chancellor of International Open University. I will briefly introduce International Open University, giving some of the benefits of studying online, some of the courses that IUU offers, and some stats from historical achievements in IUU. And then obviously I will briefly introduce Sheikh and then he will deliver today's topic. Before I go into the detail, we will have a question and answer session at the end after Sheikh has delivered his speech. The question and answer session, it will be on the basis of that you have to type your question. We will then look into the question and pick the questions to Sheikh and mention it to Sheikh for him to address the questions. So while the Sheikh is giving the speech, I request brothers and sisters to type the question in the chat box. We have the chat box in Zoom and also the chat box in YouTube. In both places, you can type your question and our moderators will pick the questions and we will then address it to Sheikh for answering or responding to those questions. So I'll begin with some of the advantages of studying at IUU. Obviously, it's an online platform and it's e-learning, so it's very, very convenient, and the accessibility is also very convenient. There is no fixed time that this study can be conducted. It 24/7, 7 days a week. The other thing is obviously the learning from any place, any location. So it's not fixed to if someone is a student from UK and they are traveling elsewhere in the world, there is no restriction that they won't be able to access the platform. They can access from anywhere in the world. Because International Open University offers courses on Islamic studies, but it's not limited to only Islamic studies. It does offer other courses, such as we'll go through some of them, and these are also has Islamic element to it. And today's topic, obviously, our esteemed Sheikh will address that, the Islamized education, how education can be Islamized, and how IUU has achieved that side. The fees, IUU has a tuition-free policy of providing education. So we have a very moderate fees in terms of the registration and exams, but there is no tuition fees. So it's something very affordable, and it's on a sliding scale, which basically means students from high developed countries will be paying higher than someone who is from a low developed country. So it does take that into account. The degrees are accredited, so it's internationally recognized. Some of the accreditation that IUU has at the moment is through Ministry of Education in Gambia, and also one of the internationally recognized authority, which is known as NACA, the National Accreditation and Quality Assurance Authority. So IUU has been working relentlessly on achieving more accreditation, and which will obviously make the offered degrees more acceptable throughout the world. And this is also a fact that there has been a lot of graduates from IUU who has pursued further education in other institutes in the world. Alhamdulillah. Some of the statistics are that IUU already has registered students more than 250,000. I think the figure is around 278,000. But also there's every semester, we have 2 semesters in the year, fall semester, spring semester, which starts from 1st of March, and the fall semester, which begins from 1st of September. And in each semester, we have on average about more than 37,000 enrolled students from near, more than 170 countries in the world. IU constantly offers scholarships and other ways to assist students, even with the moderate fees, how they can pursue their studies. It has a very flexible platform where someone can be having a full-time job, maintaining family, and then can also pursue their studies on a part-time or on a full-time basis. So it does offer lots of flexibility, and from the figures, the statistics, we can see that there are lots of many students from many countries have benefited through this platform. Alhamdulillah. We have very highly capable. We have a high capacity of the members in our faculty. So obviously, our esteemed Sheikh Bilal is the chancellor, and also he delivers classes on Aqidah, and we have other faculty members in different faculties, in Arabic, in business administration, and all of these Sheikh are renowned in the world for their contribution in Islamic studies and the contribution in Muslim Ummah. I've picked up some of the programs here, but IUE is constantly working tirelessly to introduce new programs. The signature course that IUE initially began was the Islamic under the Department of Islamic Studies, which was the Bachelor's of Arts in Islamic Studies, and then it was introduced Bachelor of Arts in Arabic language. IU has followed on, has introduced other courses in business administration, like Bachelor's of Business Administration and Economics and Finance. So the programs are of differing level. We have, IU offers certificate courses, which are not degrees, and the diplomas. Associated degree is more like an auditing degree where you don't do exams, but if someone just wants to do the studies without doing exams. Bachelor's is the accredited degree, which is offered on various subjects. IU also offers postgraduate diploma certificate and also master's degree, and also recently has introduced PhD studies in Islamic studies. Now I will introduce our Sheikh, who is the today's speaker. Sheikh Dr. Abu Amina Bilal Phillips. He accepted Islam in early 70s, and then he gained, he sought to seek more deeper understanding of Islam. So he gained admission into University of Medina, Islamic University of Medina, where he completed his bachelor's. He then continued to do a master's in Aqidah from King Saud University. And following on, he completed his PhD in Aqidah, Exorcism in Islam. That was the title, in 1993 from University of Wales in the UK. Dr. Bilal has a long track record of teaching Islamic studies and also Islamized studies in various institutes, educational institutes throughout the world, especially in Middle East. And he also been involved in developing curriculum on teaching Islam and Islamized studies. So if psychology is a subject that's taught in the conventional way, he developed a way of teaching psychology or studying psychology in an Islamized way. Dr. Bilal founded International Open University, which was formerly known as Islamic Online University, in 2001. And this institute has significantly contributed to the empowerment of Muslims in educating Muslims. recently, one of the significant contribution Dr. Bilal's vision has done was the introduction of One Mass mission, which was providing 1 million scholarships to the deprived regions in the world, especially in African region where the education is far-reached. And this has significantly contributed to Muslims Ummah's um, uh, achievement, and it has resourced the Muslim Ummah in a very positive and significant way. Dr. Bilal has also been mentioned in the Jordanian publication, the 500 most influential Muslims, and he's also regularly invited on national and national televisions and radio shows in many countries in the world, especially in Middle Eastern countries. Now I will pass the mic to Dr. Bilal to um, deliver his lecture on today's topic. I'll just request, brothers and sisters, before I pass to Dr. Bilal, that if you have any questions, please type those in the chat box in YouTube chat box or in Zoom chat box. I'll pass the mic to and request Dr. Bilal to take over the mic now. Sheikh Bilal.
الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على رسوله الكريم وعلى آله وأصحابه ومن استنى بسنته إلى يوم الدين. All praise due to Allah, and may Allah's peace and blessings be on the last Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, and then all those who follow the path of righteousness until the last day. As was mentioned, our topic this evening or morning, depending on where you are in the world, is comparing Islamic studies to Islamized studies, or Islamic education and Islamized education. For you as student committee members and others connected with the university to understand the philosophy behind the university and its take on the process of Islamization. Now, when we speak about Islamic studies or Islamic education, that is focused mainly in 5 areas. The first of which is Aqidah, which is theology, the study of Allah, the most important area of study for a Muslim. It's the number one area that we all should give a certain amount of our time to, dedicated to understand the most important element of Islam, Allah Himself, the creator of Islam, and the world for which Islam was created, in order that human beings would be able to properly navigate this life in the way which we were created to navigate it. And of course, Allah is the one who best knows what that way is. So that way begins with understanding Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala Himself. And it's understanding Him as our only existence of worship. This is the only existence in the world that we should worship. It's Allah alone. Then the worshiping of Allah will be followed by the living in this world in accordance with the principles that have been elaborated by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, first and foremost in the Quran. And the area of knowledge related to the Quran in particular is tafsir or exegesis, the interpretation of the Quran in accordance with the way of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. This is the second area which comes under Islamic studies or Islamic education. The third is hadith science, the science which provides the student a grasp of this second major source for understanding Islam, for Islamic education or Islamic studies. This is the second area. Actually, it's the third, because Aqidah is first, Tafsir is the second, and Hadith science would be the third. Following that, or when we say Hadith science, I should just elaborate a little bit more that we're talking about not only understanding the content, but how it is to be used and when it is to be used. It's all of the information that governs the area of hadiths, which refer to the sayings and actions of the Prophet ﷺ, which were meant for implementation, legal implementation within the scope of Islam. And why we stress this aspect is that these various narrations from the Prophet ﷺ, narrated by his companions who lived with him, observed him, listened to him, recorded his statements and his actions. Many memorized. Those who were able to write, wrote. So this second area is the elaboration of the first area of knowledge, which is the Quran itself. That first area of Islamic studies or Islamic education, which we refer to as tafsir. Now, when we combine the tafsir with the hadith, which are a collections of the actions, sayings, preferences of the Prophet, may God's peace and blessing be upon him. These together, we extract rules for life, from these sources, that process of extraction of the rules and the guidelines, etc., is referred to as fiqh. Fiqh, which literally means understanding. Now, this combination of tafsir and hadith and fiqh, along with aqidah, which is the starting point for every Muslim. He or she should know Allah. If they know everything else but Allah, they have failed. If they know properly Allah and don't know the other things, they have succeeded. If they know and both areas, then that increases them in success and increases the reward that is given to them by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the life to come, as well as in this life. So having understood these areas, what may be added to this is the seerah. These are all areas of Islamic knowledge, Islamic studies, the seerah, the life of Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. His life story, his biography, knowing it from the perspective of how all of the various elements have or are sources of guidance for all of us. It's not just about knowing the details of when battles took place, when did the Prophet ﷺ enter Mecca, when was he born, dates and locations and incidences. It is not just that. What is more important than that knowledge is its application. How is it applicable to Muslim society? So this application of the knowledge is the goal. It is not merely just the memorization of the knowledge. Just as Prophet ﷺ had said with regards to the Quran, that خَيْرُكُمْ مَنْ تَعَلَّمَ الْقُرْآنَ وَعَلَّمَهُ, the best of you are those who learn the Quran and teach it to others. They pass it on in general and in specific circumstances as a means of guidance to people, because the ultimate guidance lies in the Quran itself. So when we mention these areas, these 5 areas, we're talking about Islamic studies and its importance being the most important area in a Muslim's life that he or she should know, should understand, should be able to draw from these sources guidance for their day-to-day lives. On the other side, we have what may be called Islamized knowledge. The knowledge which human societies have developed, gained, compiled, and utilized, the useful knowledge of it. This process has been going on since, as they say, time immemorial, since the beginning. Allah spoke about teaching Adam the fundamental knowledge of all of the things in this world. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا. Allah states that. He taught Adam all of the names. The process of naming, how to name things, this is basis of knowledge. So this is what this refers back to. So that is the ultimately Islamic knowledge is the 5 areas that I spoke about earlier, but the implementation of those areas is ultimately the goal, as we said. In the case of other areas of knowledge, medicine, engineering, chemistry, all the various areas of knowledge that have arisen as human beings live in this world and develop ways and means of navigating the various pathways effectively, finding solutions to problems they may face, etc. All of that is a norm for human beings, and which is part of what puts us above the rest of creation. And that knowledge, as long as it is useful, true, and beneficial, then that knowledge is worth seeking and knowing. For Muslims, Muslim society, it's worth seeking and knowing. But we should be aware that there is true knowledge and there is false knowledge. And we should be able to make a distinction between the two. And also, useful knowledge and useless knowledge. Useful knowledge would be knowledge which is of benefit, because why it's useful is because it serves some benefit, some need which human beings, human society has. So this is the criteria when we're looking at knowledge of worldly affairs and worldly matters that we should be conscious of, so that we don't end up wasting time, energy, money, etc., in areas which are useless. The Prophet ﷺ emphasized this in a well-known dua in which he said, asking Allah, Allahumma, asking Allah to protect himself from knowledge which is of no benefit. This dua which the Prophet ﷺ made does identify areas of knowledge which may be true knowledge, it's not fake, but it is of no benefit. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika min ilmin la yanfa. This is what he was reported to have said. Oh Allah, I seek refuge in you from knowledge which is of no benefit. So that principle is to be applied in all of the areas and all of the walks of life, even in the course of education. Some who are seeking to teach Islamic studies in schools, for example, all of us have desire to put our children in schools which have Islamic education also as part of the curriculum, etc. And you may be surprised to find teachers in lower grades, 1, 2, 3, 4, teaching Hajj in its full details. Hajj Ifrad, Hajj Tamattu, and so on and so forth. To little kids, who are 7, 8, 9 years old, this is not really relevant to them. That has become useless knowledge. They can't do anything with it. Yes, they can memorize the titles of this is Hajj Ifrad, and if you've given a definition, they can memorize the definition, and Hajj Tamattu, etc., etc. They can do it, but what benefit is there in it for their lives? So when we're teaching young people, we should teach them the knowledge which they would take direct benefit from. Better we make a model of the Kaaba and have them put on ihram and have them walk around the Kaaba, go through that, teach them about the black stone and it's the story behind it, Hijr Ismail and the story behind that, and so on and so forth, to teach them the elements which are what actually takes place in Hajj. That's more important and much more beneficial for them than the fine details regarding the types of Hajj that can be done. So being able to sift between the two so that knowledge which may be beneficial and good may become useless and a waste of time when it's not applied in the proper place and at the proper time. So the knowledge from this world also, whether it is involving Islamic knowledge or societal knowledge, which helps us to build homes, to purify water, to dig wells, etc., etc. This knowledge is useful knowledge, beneficial knowledge, which should also be sought. However, we do have a tradition from the early scholars of Islam who arose when Islam was established in Spain, in Iraq, in Syria, the centers of learning. People came from all over the world to gain knowledge there, share their knowledge. Bits and pieces were put together. Baytul Hikmah was set up by the Caliph of the time, and scholars, scientists, etc., from all over the world were invited there, looked after, and they collected the knowledge and information, wrote it up, prepared it, and disseminated it. So this approach to worldly knowledge is acceptable. We don't need to say, well, it's not Islamic knowledge, so we don't need to deal with it. No, it makes our lives simpler, easier, more fruitful, etc., etc. Then it's useful, and we should learn it. But when we look into the writings of the scholars of that time, And you find scholars like Ibn al-Haytham, who went into optics, and he actually even devised a camera way back in 10th century, around that period. And he split light into the different wavelengths that came with different colors that come out of it, etc. When he was writing in his works on optics, etc., you would hear him describing the lens and what's happening and so on so, and then he will quote a verse from the Quran which addresses it, or a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which is on the topic, and so on and so forth, with all of the major scholars of Islam, that they would always, while working with modern subjects, they would ensure that in one way or another, they would be connected with Islamic knowledge. So this is the Islamization of knowledge, or studies. We talked about education. We talk about Islamized education or Islamized studies, different from Islamic education and Islamic studies. Though they both come together and overlap, we should be conscious of the meanings and how they relate to the studies which are offered by the International Open University, and be able to grasp the relevance, to share it with others, to partake of it ourselves. And in summary, we can say that what happened with the turn of the 20th century is that education became secularized. As they say, removing God from the classroom. God has no place in the classroom, in the studies. In religious school, okay, fine. But for regular studies in the various areas of knowledge, we don't need to bring God into the formula. Well, it was correct in the sense that pushing one religion on all of the students who may have other religions that they want to follow or they've grown up with or whatever, it's not really right. And it's better to take a middle path which is more inclusive, bringing everybody in, having their opportunity. But from the Islamic perspective, all of the various areas of knowledge have Islamic connections. So from the Muslim perspective, we cannot remove religion or God from the classroom, because everything came from God. So our job as educators, whether we have taken a degree or we're studying for a degree in education or in whatever field we choose, it all comes back to education in general anyway. The point is that whenever we are engaged in the educational process, we should keep in mind that a motivating force and drive and factor for us is bringing God back into the classroom. It was the removal of God from the classroom which became the removal of morality from the classroom. There was no moral message connected to the classes that the students were studying. And that's why Oppenheimer could build the atomic bomb, blew up Hiroshima and Nagasaki, 100 million people wiped out, or 100,000 people disintegrated in a minute. This is something so evil, so horrendous, it should go down in the annals of human history as the worst crimes that have been committed against humanity. All of the innocent people who were just devastated 1945 at the end of World War II, when America dropped the atomic bombs on Hiroshima and Nagasaki, they already won the war. What was the point? So that is also manifest in what is happening today in the US in the case of mass killings. From the Columbine massacre, where a student took weapons with him and back into school for the first time in America and started gunning down his classmates, his teachers, people in the school, etc. And that became a trend happening almost every month. Mass killings are happening outside of schools, etc., in so many different locations, in job situations, etc., etc. We have people dying almost every other day from mass killings. And the idea of small students, 10 years old, 14 years old, 16 years old, coming with guns back into the school and shooting the principal and his homeroom teacher, and etc. This is so horrendous. It's so evil. This is a result of education devoid of morality, and that is an integral part of the IOU, the National Open University, because we offer studies in IT, business administration, psychology, etc., education, banking and finance. But these subjects are all taught from an Islamic perspective. The right and the wrong is looked at, not just one way, but other ways that people follow, which may contain harmful content. The instructors are obliged to clarify that for the students, to understand the morality of their subject. And perhaps one of the good examples that I commonly use for this point is in business administration, in marketing, where the one who is able to deceive his customers and get them to buy what they don't need or even what they don't want that person is now considered to be the greatest marketer. He is number one. But the reality is that for him or her to sell something to somebody, something they don't need, initially, which they didn't even want, but because of coming at them from left and right and center and from above and etc., they are mesmerized by the words of the salesman into buying what they don't need. That's why the Prophet ﷺ had said, "Inna min al-bayani lasihrun." That there are some aspects of speech which is magic. It takes over the mind of the individual, fools him or her into thinking that their lives are incomplete unless they get a hold of this product. Their lives, they haven't lived as they should have without getting a hold of this product. And this product, in reality, is a product they don't really need. So, from the Islamic perspective, this approach is not acceptable because the Prophet ﷺ had said, "Man ghashana falaysa minna." Whoever cheats us is not of us. It's not a true Muslim. So morality, whenever our instructors are teaching the various subjects, they are obliged to provide also a moral foundation to the subjects. And the Prophet ﷺ had summed up his message, the message of Islam and everything connected to it, in the phrase, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمَ الْأَخْلَاقِ. I was only sent to perfect for you the highest of moral character traits, the highest levels of morality. That was the essence of the goal, the message of Islam. Morality with God, with Allah, that we only worship Him alone, is morally good. That we worship other than Him is morally bad. Also, between ourselves and other human beings, it's morally good for us to be generous, kind, sharing, etc. with others, and morally bad to not be that way, to be stingy, to keep benefit from people, being unwilling to share what we have, what we've been blessed with others. That's morally bad. And also with the environment in which we live, this world, climate change, which is happening, and Muslims and non-Muslims, people all over the world are suffering from the effects of climate change and other destructive elements that we have introduced into the world, not carefully looking at the consequences and trying to prevent what is evil. So the IOU, in all of its subjects, which are not specifically Islamic subjects, and the university, when we only used to teach Sharia, which involved Aqidah, Tafsir, Hadith, and Sirah, when we only involved these subjects, we called the university in its beginnings the Islamic Online University, IOU. However, once we brought on board the other areas of learning, and some people would ask, why did we do that? Because really, that instructor, the one who has graduated from Sharia and is now going to convey the message he learned in his Sharia studies, conveying that message to the communities that sent them, they don't have the auxiliary knowledges or areas of knowledge which are necessary to be able to implement the fundamental knowledge properly. So the one who comes back from studies of Sharia, he or she is automatically made the head of the community. But he didn't learn, or she didn't learn about management, about counseling, guidance. They didn't learn these areas, which are important areas. So these areas were introduced into the curriculum of Sharia as minors, which could be taken along with your major. And then eventually, within about 4 years of operation, we expanded these areas to become independent areas. So we have Islamic banking and finance. We have Islamic psychology. We have Islamic business administration, etc., etc. And we plan to expand that as time goes on and our resources become sufficient to open up new areas like public health, as well as agricultural economics, mass communication. These areas we would like to expand into, as they are globally needed, and especially from an Islamic perspective. So I hope this has given you a picture of the intent of the Islamic Online University, as it was formerly known, and now the International Open University, which embraces a wider area of knowledge, all delivered from an Islamic perspective. So I hope that this message you can carry on to others who would question, why would I need to go to International Open University to study Islamic banking and finance when I can go and study banking and finance in Oxford, in Yale, and other big universities, which having a degree with those stamps and those credentials far outweighs IOU. Well, that's true. It far outweighs it in the material world. However, Muslims need Islamic banking and finance. That's what they need. Our societies have been engulfed by riba, by interest dealings, which are forbidden in Islam, misguidance, and a devastating factor, financial factor, putting most of our countries, most of the countries of the developing world, into a state of debt, unable to repay the debt. Not even the original loan can be repaid. We're only servicing the debt. and you're tied to these collaborations, financial collaborations involving riba in such a way that the wealth of our countries are being sucked away into the developed world, and we remain undeveloped. So these are some thoughts that I wanted to share with you today, and I hope that the message has come across clearly and that you benefit from it and keep me in your prayers, that Allah accept my efforts and gives you the full benefit of my efforts to benefit the community. And I should mention that the university, the IOU, is fundamentally a charitable project, in that 1/3 of our students are on scholarship. You will not find that in a private institution. 1/3 of the students in a private university are on scholarship. Maybe in government universities, yes. Private universities, unthinkable. But we have forged this path, trying to bring to those who would not normally have access to higher knowledge, current knowledge from an Islamic perspective, to make a difference. Our motto is changing the nation through education. Education for all. That's our goal. And yes, as was mentioned by the host, we are focused to a large degree in the developing world. And among the areas of great focus is that of Africa, where we have a 1 million scholarships for impoverished and needy African youth. We have that as a major project that we work with in all scenarios, because Africa, while being, we're 1 billion people, while being the youngest, the youngest continent, where the people of the continent are the youngest ages. People are already quite old in the West, the US, UK, etc., Europe, even Russia, to a large degree, to some degree China also. The youngest average age in Africa is considerably below that of the rest of the world. And the UN have identified what makes the developed world successful and the underdeveloped world failure. What's the difference between the two? They have pointed out that it is education. The average percentage of high school graduates around the world, the average percentage of high school graduates who find seats in universities is 26%. In Africa, it is less than 6%. Less than 6%. The lowest in the world. That's the average. So the need there is particularly critical. And many of the new leaders that are arising in West Africa, etc., are focusing on the development of their countries free from the colonial exploitation, which began way back in the 15th century, 1492, Columbus made it to the Americas. And from that point, the wealth of these lands have been sucked, building the developed world, the West, and exploiting the underdeveloped world, the East, or the world below the equator. Most of the Western countries are above the equator, and most of the developing countries are below the equator. So the IOU, the International Open University, provides scholarships for students that are needy, and it's not limited only to African students. We bring in students from Philippines, from India, from elsewhere. The university provides scholarships for those who are not able to pay the fees, which are already extremely low. The normal course in IOU, 4-year degree course, costs $1,200. 4-year degree. $150 per semester for the 8 semesters that they have to study. This is extremely low. In the rest of the world, the prices are many times that. So the intent of the IOU is to serve the Ummah, to worship Allah through being in the service of the Ummah. We ask Allah to accept our efforts, to extend them, to increase them, to bring on board more who share our vision and our mission. Barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'll now pass things over to the host, and we can move into our area of Q&A to the degree that we are able, inshallah.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh Bilal. I pray to Allah that Allah gives you long, righteous hayat so we can benefit from you and also the Muslim Ummah, inshallah. We have a few questions which have been posted in YouTube chat box. Question one, question is asking if someone has completed undergraduate or graduate degrees from a discipline other than Islamic studies, can they pursue doctorate in Islamic studies at IUU?
Well, technically speaking, yes, they can. A master's as well as doctorate. This is possible. We have recommended for those who are going to pursue higher studies on the master level and the doctoral level, that they do take our bridge to master's course that we have, which is, I think, a 1.5 to 2-year course. bridge to masters, which gives them an understanding of all of the major areas of Islamic learning, so that they will be able to effectively do the research, attend the courses, etc., that are necessary, without being at a total loss. Because one who doesn't have that background, whether by doing madrasa studies or sitting with a sheikh in the masjid, for years, etc., and they just jump straight into master's or PhD, they will find great difficulty, because Islamic studies, Sharia, is not a joke. It's very serious. And that's one of the reasons why, though the numbers of people who have registered in IOU are more than 500,000, 500,000, those who actually enroll and go into studies, is a fraction of that, a small fraction of that. As it was mentioned, we have some 7,000 students studying with us, thousands of new students come in every semester, but still, it's nowhere near 500,000. Because many come in thinking that the studies are easy, simple, it's online, etc. But they get shocked when they come in. They find this is serious study. You have to put in real time. And there's no joke about it. And there are so many different ways and means to ensure that exams are properly done, to prevent cheating, etc., to ensure that those who graduate with true degrees and not degrees of deception.
Chef, I think the questioner, sister who asked, I think she's specified now, saying that she has completed a master's in education and she wanted to pursue a PhD in Islamic studies. Does she need to complete the bridge to MAIS and then to doctorate, or can she get admission directly to doctorate without having any prior qualification in Islamic studies?
Well, as I said, the step from bachelor's to PhD without master's is not normal. This is not a normal progression. Universities usually go from bachelor's to master's to PhD. This is how it goes. So I would say she would need to do a master's. Now, if she has a bachelor's and master's in areas other than Islamic studies, technically speaking, she could apply for a PhD in Islamic studies. But she would find great difficulty unless she has some other channel by which she has gained the knowledge, the requisite knowledge necessary to be able to do Islamic research. It's research from an Islamized perspective. She will have a viva, a live defense, and she would be torn to shreds by the examiners if she didn't have any background. So I would say that though technically it may be possible, practically she should take one of the bridge programs that we have to get a quick background on all of the major areas of Islamic knowledge so that she can effectively do that PhD.
Maybe a second question. I did ask to clarify the questionnaire. I mean, I leave it to you, Sheikh, to answer. If you don't want to answer, you can leave it. The questioner is asking if you are completing the Names of Allah series. I'm not sure what platform they didn't mention that. If you want to skip that, Sheikh,
Well,
you can.
it wasn't mentioned here.
No, I don't
but,
know. We did mention. We did ask.
Names of Allah series, which I began back in the COVID days when I was also inflicted or afflicted with the virus. And I gave 2 years in a row research on the 99 names of Allah, and which remains incomplete. I got as far as 89, and there remains 11 to complete it. And I'm trying to apply myself to doing the necessary research in order to complete the effort. A lot of people are waiting for it, and I do hope to complete it. Please pray for me. There are a lot of distractions that have entered into my life in the last couple of years, and trying to maneuver my way around them and through them, over them, etc. So pray for me. I do want to complete this project, and it will be, as it's reached so far, a 3-volume work, each volume being somewhere around 300 pages. So it's encyclopedic in that sense, and very, very thorough. There's nothing like it in English. There are plenty like it in Arabic, but in English, there aren't. So I do want to try to finish it before the end of the year. And I ask your prayers to help me get through it with the mercy of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. We have a third question. The questioner is asking that they have he or she has completed bridge to MAIS at IOU, and they want to know what sort of positions they might be hired for, in what sort of organization they might get jobs at.
Well, I can't speak of what kind of positions they could be hired in, etc., etc. I mean, the bridge was supposed to help them to do the masters. So the idea is that the bridge is not in and of itself a program designed for putting one in the workforce, with comprehensive Islamic knowledge. What they need to do is, after the bridge, go ahead and do the masters. After you have graduated from the masters, then in the course of your masters, the area that you would like to work in, the Islamic area that you'd like to work in, I mean, that should be interwoven into your masters in such a way that your master's study has given you depth in this area of knowledge from the Islamic perspective, which makes you an expert in that area. And obviously, you would then work in accordance to that expertise.
We have one questionnaire from our Zoom chat box, so obviously attending from Zoom. And the question is regarding setting up Islamic schools. So the question is that she's completing a Bachelor in Islamic Studies with IOU. However, she's mentioning that in the need Islamic or Islamized schools in Sri Lanka. Is there any guidance that you can give or any assistance that can be given from IOU or from your side to set up such schools in Sri Lanka?
Well, it sounds as though she has begun the process, having completed the degree in education. But I would say that she should go ahead, if she wants to be an Islamic studies teacher, she should go ahead and do the master's in Islamic studies. That's a more complete foundation for entering into the educational field. And I would suggest also that she focus on teaching methodology to prepare herself as best as she can, whether the course is inside the IOU or outside. She should increase her knowledge area because, she should be properly prepared, well prepared to take on this responsibility, because people's lives will be in her hands, and she should be properly qualified to impart the knowledge that she intends to convey.
We haven't got any other questions other than those. We could.
It popped up asking about IOU being part of the effort to set up the Islamic school there in Sri Lanka. And we are happy to collaborate, and we have collaborated with other schools in helping them set up their programs. I have done a series of lectures on Islamic schools, Islamic curriculum, Islamization of schools. They're on YouTube, many of them are on YouTube, etc. And some materials have already been written up and are being used in places like Nigeria, Philippines, and elsewhere. I would be happy to hear the plans and try to give some advice in terms of any schools that are looking to set up. And they may be collaborating with IOU, where our teaching body from the College of Education can help in your planning and implementation. And I personally would be happy to help also. I visited Sri Lanka in the past, and I haven't visited there for a long time now. But there was an Islamic school there. I can't remember its name, and but it was only, I think, primary school. And at the time, I had written a 56-book series for the learning of English, which was Islamized completely so that the children could see themselves as Muslims in the books while learning English grammar and spelling and etc. etc. It's called the Iman Reading Series. We're looking to reprint it in Bangladesh as well as in Malaysia, inshallah, hopefully by the end of this year.
Assalamu alaikum, dear Sheikh. I have a question. If I, after completing this bachelor program in Arabic language from IOU, so will I get masters from United Kingdom or Bangladesh? Actually, I am a citizen of Bangladesh. My nationality is Bangladesh on campus.
Well, you should be accepted. Yes, because our degree is internationally recognized by all the countries that recognize the Gambia, which is where the IOU is headquartered, and it is fully accredited there in the Gambia. Alhamdulillah, UNESCO has also referred to it, made it a benchmark for online learning. So, inshallah, many of our graduates have joined institutions all over the world. I would believe that they would be accepted there also. But you can look into it, and if there's anything we can do to help in confirming that, if you require document, etc., we would be only too happy to help. Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Is that it?
There is one question, but we're not sure about what context. The questioner is asking, how can we better promote our journal, JIS? I think it's referring to the journal Integrated Studies. I think that's the one.
Journal of Integrated Studies. How can we better promote it?
Yeah, I think yeah.
It depends on the circumstances that you have at your in front of you that are available. Whether it is in lectures that are held, to get a booth and be able to share the copies of the volumes with those who attend, or whether it is in collaboration with other universities that copies of the journal be sent to be put in the libraries of other institutions around the world. A concentrated effort to reach out to the various universities and to send copies of the the Journal of Islamic Studies, GIS, to universities in the various countries around the world. That's over 200 countries. That's enough to keep you busy for at least about 3 years doing it, if not more.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. Jazakallah khair. But another question. One of the students, he is studying the moment with IOU, and he's asking, a university once told me the BSc degree certificate is equivalent to UK higher diploma, therefore cannot be used for master's admission. In the UK,
how is that? Could you repeat that?
Yeah, so a IUU student who is studying at the moment, and he's asking, he approached a university once in the UK, and the university confirmed that the BSc degree certificate that he would gain from IUU will be equivalent to UK higher diploma, which is below the degree
No,
level.
no,
So
no. I mean,
yeah.
university has the right to accept and reject applications. Reality is that the Gambia is a part of the Commonwealth. And it is known that amongst the members of the Commonwealth, they already accept the accreditation of the members of the Commonwealth automatically. And as a result of it, we have students who have been accepted in the UK already with bachelor's degrees, in Canada, in the US, in countries in Europe, and in the world below the equator, the countries of the South, the global South, the developing world. So that's not correct information. If you go to, there's one body called, what is it called now? Something like assessment of degrees or something. This body, it looks at degrees from the universities of different parts of the world, and it gives an assessment. Now, we have had our degree assessed there, and they state clearly that it's equivalent to a bachelor's degree. It's in Canada. If somebody applies in Canada, they will go directly to this body, and the body will confirm that the bachelor's degree from IOU is equivalent to the bachelor's degree elsewhere. It is fully accredited, and that can be seen from the website. One goes to the Gambian website and looks for accreditation, body of accreditation called NAQA, NAQAA, and go to see what are the accredited universities of the Gambia, and IOU will be there. And as I said, you can also find on the IOU website a list of the number of countries which accept the IOU degrees as bachelor's degrees from which students can go into masters in countries around the world and PhDs.
Chef. There's one an interesting question is popped up in YouTube chat box, and the questioner is asking that the person he's or he or she is Christian, and they want to pursue an IT degree with IUU undergraduate level, but they can see in the curriculum that the Islamic studies is one of the modules or courses that they have to do. So they're asking, do they have to do the Islamic studies, provided that she or he is a Christian, if they want to pursue a degree in IT?
We do have what we call, what do they call them again? Electives, which are other subjects which are not specifically Islamic, which the students can take in the place of the Islamic subject, which is there in the curriculum of IT. But I think in general, the courses which are being offered, in these other departments will tend to be general courses, ones which may be dealing with some elements of history or something of the like. But as far as I know, as far as I recall, there are elective courses that may be taken to replace the recommended courses in the curriculum for non-Muslims who wish to take the course.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. I think we're coming to the end of the session. Just one question I think we can probably take, and it's one of the committee members from the UK Brothers Committee is asking, what is your take on establishing teacher training institutes that will collaborate with schools to train teachers frequently on Islamized curriculum?
It's a good idea. We would like to have that facility offered also from IOU, Department of Education. We would like to be able to offer special minors in Islamic schools or Islamic school administration or curriculum development or things of that nature. We would like to see that. If there are people in the audience who have skills along those lines that would like to work towards that, we welcome you to contact us and let's try to work together on it. Because we definitely need to have something of that nature well established to help in the development, establishment of Islamic schools around the world.
Chef, Jazakallah khair. One of our chairperson from Sri Lanka, Sister Fazmina Mansoor, she wants to ask you directly. So let her question you directly. I think she has a question.
Assalamu alaikum, Sheikh. I'm so happy. I'm so glad to talk to you. Alhamdulillah. I think we met in Qatar once, but then with our families. Alhamdulillah. I'm so happy to speak to you. I'm so blessed to be a part of IOU. Alhamdulillah, it has helped me immensely with all my problems. I get away with the problems because of the guidance IOU has given me, and I'm so happy that I can spread the message that there is something like this which is knocking the door, and just you have to open the door, and accept the knowledge. It has been so easy for us. Alhamdulillah, Alhamdulillah, all thanks to Allah and all thanks to you. And I want this university to be a smaller version that is as schools, I want schools to be here with your guidance. I mean, it should be from IOU, it should be from you. So Sri Lanka needs it. We do have Islamic schools, but then not all the subjects are Islamized. I think that should be here. So inshallah, like once they have passed, once they are done with the school, they can obviously jump into the university very easily. So I think I'd be happy to see a school here from IOU itself. So this was my question. I'm not we did have plans to build up a school, but then it's not easy because we don't have that much of guidance. So I would love to have a school here, from you. That's my question. Sheikh.
Well, if you have the finances, first and foremost,
Yeah, okay.
you have people who are willing to do the necessary steps required to provide
Yeah.
education here,
Yeah.
then I would be happy to work with you to help in any way that
Inshallah.
we can,
I have
or
a
any
set of
way.
people. Inshallah, I'll work towards it and I will bring forward. Inshallah, it'll be so. I'll be so happy to have an Islamic school.
Inshallah, you're here in Qatar, is it?
No, I'm in Sri Lanka. We were there
Oh,
for
in
for some time, so
got the school there. Yeah, well, yeah, no, definitely. You know, there was one there in Colombo some time back, back in the early 2000, in the 90s, and I visited it on more than one occasion. In fact, one of the founders of the school was a friend of mine and family who I knew well.
okay.
So yeah, if you want, it's maybe the time now. The school I think probably shut down maybe in time, but they were quite conscious and making a conscious effort to make it properly Islamic. But I'll be willing to help in any way that I can.
Inshallah, inshallah. Jazakumullah khair. I'm so happy.
Lana wa yakum. Barakallahu fikum. And I'll bless your efforts and your intentions and put it on our scale of good deeds the day of judgment.
Jazakallah khair, Sheikh. We've come to the end of the today's online webinar event webinar, and so I'll request Sheikh to make any closing comments on how we can progress the dawah as a guidance, and also to make the closing dua to close the session.
Well, I think closing comments. I've given all the comments that I had today. It's done. No sense to overdo the efforts. Try to keep things within a reasonable length of time. We've put in a good hour and a half, so we can just go to closure. Anything else people want to do or would like to do, and meetings can be arranged through the student committee, and other meetings can be held, and we can look at more specific issues and specific locations to see how we can help in the efforts to establish Islamic schools around the world, inshallah. So with that, I will close with the closing dua. Subhanak Allahumma bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa ant, astaghfiruka wa natubu ilayk. This was the sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ to close gatherings with that dua. Barakallahu fikum. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Jazakallah khair, Sheikh.